Hey. So now we're going into chapter 3. It's a little bit later in the day from when I just finished the end of chapter 2. I just wanted to take a break. This is a whole video thing is really helping me get back into reading. And I think it's because I do enjoy the teaching element. Um, I just enjoy that. And so, you know, so I'm tricking my brain into doing this by making these videos and hoping that maybe I might be able to help somebody out there who also, I don't know, but that's really, I guess, kind of it. It's like when I work with children, I love actually reading to them because I can put a lot of inflection and help making whatever story that I'm going through with them more fun. And so chapter 3, The Villain Within. This is, of course, Dean Graziosi's Millionaire Success Habits. Yeah. Let's see. All right. And so, let's see. Starting off. So, who are the people that when we're around them, we feel more alive? Who are those people? Who are the people that make us feel more energized, more fulfilled, more confident? These are the people we must gravitate towards for progression. But you see, the truth is there are also toxic people in our lives working against our progression. Imagine you're on a train and you're in the compartment, and in your compartment is your family and your close friends. Suddenly you look to your right and you find that a handful of toxic people who are draining your motivation, and your drive has, and man, I don't know if this is, all right, let me go back. Suddenly you look to your right and you find that a handful of toxic people who are draining your motivation and your drive, have somehow found themselves in your compartment. What do you do now? There's only one thing you can do, and that is to politely let them off at the next station. I believe the people in our lives who are negative, competitive, jealous, etc., can really drain our energy and our confidence. Makes you self-doubt, makes you, you end up spending more time on those situations than on what you need to spend time on, which is yourself and building yourself up to that next level, working on making you the better you. And that's Ariana Huffington, and she was interviewed by, of course, Dean Graziosi. Uh, so who exactly is the villain within? Well, the villain within can distinguish itself as many different things in many people's lives, but no matter what form it takes, we all have it somewhere inside us. To most of us, it's that self-doubt, that inner voice saying you can't do this, or what makes you think you deserve that. And in so many cases, it holds you back from taking the proper actions to move life in a better direction. It's that inner resistance that in the past talked you out of pursuing the things that made your heart smile and helped you reach that next level of life. I call it the villain. I call it a villain because it's sneaky and up to no good. It's up to villains sabotage, villains take and steal, ruin, destroy. Okay, it hides in the back of your mind, and you don't even realize it exists. And the worst part about this inner villain is that in most cases, external factors in your life that seemed innocuous created this villain. We'll address these factors soon. You may not realize it, but this villain has created a glass ceiling, an artificial limit on what you can achieve and what you can be. And what's even worse, once that villain is inside you, it is anchored down by multiple internal factors that prevent its escape. You may sometimes find yourself wondering why you're working faster, your life is going by quicker, and you're ultimately working harder than ever before, but you haven't found that next level of life. Now, that was me. I mean, I had reached so much success, but I was not getting anywhere. In fact, I felt like I was pulling back to even worse levels of life, and I'm just like, I didn't get it. I'm like, how am I at this spot? I'm making more money, having more success than ever in life. I have no time to spend it, but I have no money either. I didn't get that. I was like, how is this even possible? But it was the truth. And so now I'm in the Philippines. Anyway, and the simple explanation is you have a villain working against you and you don't even know it. The good news, we're going to expose it once and for all. I'm intrigued. I'm inspired. Okay. I once heard a fable about a Navajo woman who told her grandson a story about how all we have are two wolves that live inside us, constantly battling one another. It starts with the grandmother sitting her grandson down and explaining it to him that one of the wolves is jealous, has envy in his soul, is malicious, and has a scarcity mindset. To that wolf, everything in the world is wrong and unpleasant. I haven't heard this variation. I've heard the story, but I haven't heard this variation. He believes that people are mostly bad, things are no good, and the world is a cold, dark, miserable place. And as you can imagine, nothing good happens for that wolf because it is a negative, pessimistic animal, always seeing things as the glass is half empty. Then the woman says to her grandson, but you also have a different powerful wolf that lives inside you. This wolf has empathy, love, compassion, positivity, and knows it can accomplish anything. Anything it puts its heart, soul, and mind and strength into. This wolf sees the bright side of everything and constantly sees things as the glass is half full. And grandson, this wolf, the powerful wolf, can take you so many amazing places. And the grandson looks at his grandmother and says, well, grandmother, which wolf wins the battle? And she stared at him deeply and then said, the one you feed, grandson. The one you feed. I love this story because it is so applicable to all our lives. We have this bad wolf, the villain, as he calls it, living inside of us. But we also have this hero just wanting to be released. Here, I'll help you learn how to expose the villain hiding deep inside you, discover how it got there, and proceed to destroy it. Because in so many cases, once it's gone, you can't even begin to imagine how much more you will be able to accomplish in your professional and in your personal life. A few years back, a man went to a third world country in South America to volunteer for a worthy cause, helping those in need. After his emotional journey, he arrived back in the States filled with gratitude and ready to kick his own life into high gear. But shortly after the trip, he started feeling sluggish and a bit weak and sick. He was in his 50s, and he simply assumed the cause was of age. And it was something that he just needed to start accepting. Over the next few weeks, he stopped doing certain activities that he loved. He stopped playing with his recreational basketball team and being active in the community. And he started to try and process the new thoughts of an aging man. What he didn't realize is that when he was in the jungle of South America helping families in need, he was infected with a dangerous parasite. And from that moment on, this parasite was living inside him, feeding off of him every minute of every day. It was robbing him of nutrients, sapping his energy, and diminishing the quality of his life. He simply had no idea something was living inside him, holding him back from his full potential. However, he eventually went to the doctor, found out about the parasite, and got the right medicine, and the parasite was gone for good. This man appreciated life once again. In fact, he appreciated even more after this experience. And with a new perspective on life, he felt he could accomplish literally anything. Why do I tell you this story? Because the villain that I spoke of earlier in this chapter to all intents and purposes, is a parasite that is living inside of you. No, it's not robbing you of nutrients or feeding off your body. Maybe it is. Maybe it is. Okay. But it's definitely taking away the quality of life that you deserve. And it's decreasing your confidence, your joy, your inspiration, and ultimately your passion for life. And so I'm going to show you how it was created and how to destroy it, plain and simple. This chapter will be like going to the doctor and getting medications to destroy the self-doubt and the pessimistic voice that has made you miss opportunities. If we don't flush this villain from your system immediately, it will continue to do damage, and even worse, it will continue to erode your confidence. And we will all know that reduced confidence hampers your ability to move in a better direction. When was the last time you made a great move? Made a sale? Well, I just made a sale. Had a great date. Just had a great date. Got a promotion. Give me a few weeks. Alright? Or started something new when your confidence was in the toilet. I don't store my confidence. Well, I had. I don't store it there anymore. Alright. Probably never. Well, not never. I mean, I just made a sale. Anyway. Okay. So think about your best days, your best sales, and your best dates. They've happened when your confidence was high, and I see what he's saying. When your confidence was in the toilet, when did you make a great sale? Never. When did I make a great move when my confidence was in the toilet? Never. Got a promotion? Nope. Not when my confidence was in the toilet. Started something new when my confidence. I probably have. If you know me, that's, anyway, so but was it successful? Hell no. Alright, and so probably never, and that's pretty decently accurate. Think about your best days, your best sales, and your best dates. They happened when my confidence was high and all things seemed possible. That's true. By identifying the toxicity living inside of me and flushing it out, I will restore my confidence. And that's true. That's true. I remove the confidence inside, and then I also have to remove the strong, toxic influences that are outside. I don't have to, but it helps. And this is just the start. And as I explained to you how this villain was created and sustained, I'm going to give you strategies that will show you how to kill it off piece by piece, and so to let you start identifying it right now and allowing you to discover its origins. Oh, so let's start that. Yeah, let's start that. Okay, let's start with one of the external factors that feed this success-robbing parasite. Watching, listening to, and reading the news. Don't do it. Alright, think about it. We've grown up as a generation that gets nothing but negative news pounded into our minds. Every second of every day, our brain is bombarded with news of wars, scarcity, economic crisis, disasters, terrorist attacks, murders, sicknesses, and suffering. And he's very true. When I turned the news off, I actually was shortly after I got out of rehab. I just decided that I didn't have time for TV. Well, I had time. I just chose not to. I was just not something I was interested in. I'd rather sit and play a video game, quite honestly. Turning the TV on meant playing a video game. That's what it meant. I was happier that way, getting some gaming in. I'm a gamer. I'll admit it. But I'm more I'm more hungry for success these days, and so I don't even really play much games anymore. In fact, when I came to the Philippines, I debated back and forth. Do I bring, the Xbox? Do I bring the Wii or one of those things? And I decided no. It's better to leave it. I gave it to the kids, and I just said bye with that. I was like, so when I come back, let's get it back, right? And so over time, it just made more sense to cut that loose, cut that free. And so watching it, I don't even look at I barely look at the news even online. In fact, I don't. When it's on my news feed on Facebook, that's the only time I really hear of anything. So here recently there was some bombs that went off in Austin, Texas, or San Antonio or whatever, like a few weeks ago, and saw that through the news feed. What happened in Florida a couple of months ago? Yeah, about 6 weeks ago or so. What happened in Florida with the school shooting? Again, Facebook. I don't watch the news. I just don't. And you know, why bother watching it when you know it's tainted anyway? You know, we don't hear of the good stories because why? Blood sells. Um, you know. If it, as a newscaster once said, always says, if it bleeds, it leads, and so there's a reason for that. People want to hear the dirty laundry. They want to hear the negative stuff. People are interested in that. They don't want to hear of how this woman who was sick once and she got better. That's not news. It just isn't. And so that's the reality that we live in today. Where was I? Did you know that in the 1950s, Time magazine covers were about 90% positive in tone and content? And then through the years, Time magazine realized that the more negative their stories, the more copies they would sell. In fact, they realized that negative superlatives work 30% better at snaring readers' attention than positive ones. And it's just not just that, but the average click-through rates on headlines were of a negative. Superlatives. I really need to learn, since this is a word that he uses a lot. I need to learn this. A negative superlatives. I think it's superlatives. It makes a lot of sense. It sounds like that. Okay, so backing up. All right. And it's not just that, but the average click-through rates on headlines where negative superlatives are a staggering 63% higher than that of their positive counterparts. This emphasis on the negative isn't just on editorial decision. The negative content reflects the increasing number of anxiety-producing global events such as the rise of terrorism, ecological disasters, and many other crises and calamities. All of these contributes to our perception that things are getting worse, which isn't true. There's a lot of good stuff that's happening in the world. They just don't let us know. And now is the Time magazine. Now is Time magazine the only one that has gone through this transformation in delivering negative news? But not by any means. Of course not. Time magazine has to make a profit. They're in a business. This is about how to build a business as well. We all have a vested interest in certain things. The news has a vested interest in making money, just like you, just like me. We all have a purpose and a reason for doing certain things. And so, if they go from the 50s to 60 years later, switching to being the vast majority of the negative thing, the reason is because that's what people want. They want to read that stuff. Okay? And so, as does every other news outlet, if they decide to focus on the positive, they won't generate the readership and revenue they require to support themselves. And the media has developed a disaster reflex, whether it's a devastating hurricane or an urban riot, they provide saturation coverage, creating the impression that the end of the world is near. And that's their point, that they have to. As a cynical television news producer once said, here we go, if it bleeds, it leads. Okay? As a result, the majority of the daily data we digest is completely negative. It's difficult to focus on positive thoughts And that next level of success, when at every turn you're receiving information about a world that seems doomed. The news can affect you in such a negative way, even if you are someone who has a "I'm going to be the thermostat of life" mentality, you can soon become the thermometer. All right? The negativity is overpowering the positive thinking part of our brains. According to research done by UCLA, the average human being has around 70,000 thoughts per day. And out of those thoughts, 80% of them are negative, with the majority of those thoughts carrying over to the next day. Based on everything I've read and observed, digesting negative news is a leading cause of this frightening statistic. I agree with him. And I understand that throughout history, there have always been wars, economic hurdles. There have always been wars, but it greatly increased back in the early 1900s. So I think like multiplied times 5, something insane, and it had just that hasn't stopped. And somewhere around World War One is when the world went crazy with war, and it just hasn't stopped. You know, it really hasn't even hit the pause button. And so, but there has been wars. It's just not to this level. And as I understand, throughout history, there has always been wars, economic hurdles, and natural disasters. But never before has all this information been so readily available. We get it from our apps, our phones, our social media accounts, and TV at an alarming rate. And it affects you whether you like it or not. And that's the thing about our subconscious. It takes in what it wants. Okay? What you focus on, you become. Okay? And so what happens is this barrage of negativity is strengthening your inner villain. It encourages thoughts like, why would you start your own business when the economy is just going to crash? Why do you think you deserve love when famous movie stars keep getting divorced? Why do you think you can get in shape when the world is more obese now than ever before? When you consciously or subconsciously absorb even a portion of the negative news out there, it slowly chips away at your confidence and reinforces you staying exactly where you are, rather than motivating you to get where you want to go. Right? To kill off this aspect of villain, go to the following. Go on a 30-day news diet. I recommend a total separation in which you don't watch the news, can't read about it, can't ask your friends about it. Instead, use that time and energy to search within yourself, to spend time bonding with the people you love, or work on the things you're discussing in this that we're discussing in this book to empower you. Spend that time working on things that can allow you to gain confidence instead of something that strips it away. I don't know how much time you'll recover with this news diet, but take the time you usually spend on the news and spend it on you instead. And remember, it's not just the time you lose by watching or reading the news, but it's damaging after effects that cause the most harm. So commit yourself right now to take a 30-day news challenge and write down a list of things that you'll be doing instead. Will you meditate, cook yourself some healthy meals, and hit the gym? Create the business plan for your new idea or expand the current one. Will you read the rest of this book without delay? Will you hang out with your kids, your spouse, or your parents? Whatever it is, my guess is that a sabbatical from the news, while engaging its alternative activities, will function like a cognitive cleanse. Will allow you to escape the drag of negativity and move forward in a positive direction. Right. Your inner villain. Also, let's see, how big is this chapter? I like to scout ahead. I usually do that before I start, but here are the chapter 2 in this chapter. I just kind of dove on in without really taking a look at things. Does this chapter end? No, there it is. Okay. So we're on page 53, going all the way to page 80 is when chapter 4 starts. I'm not going to read all of that. Right now in this particular video, this is going to be part 1. Alright, okay. So, your inner villain also strives when you focus your time and effort on things on which you're not good at. So, no doubt, throughout your life, you were taught to work on your weaknesses, to try to improve your skills and abilities in areas where you did not thrive. Hands down, that may be the biggest lie we've ever been told. At the end of the day, all this does is rob you of your confidence. This belief may sound crazy when you first read it, since from a young age onward, you've probably been told you're not good at calculus, so do more calculus. He's kind of right there. I've never really stopped and thought about all of this, but practice makes perfect. That's the one I've always heard. Keep working at what you're not good at, so you can get really good at it. It's true. By focusing on your weakness, though, you end up feeling inferior subconsciously. Just as troubling, this focus time encourages you to ignore your exceptional capabilities and strengths. Yeah. So though you may not agree with me yet, I hope you'll soon say, the heck with my weaknesses. I'm going to be amazing at what I'm already good at. I'm a great online marketer. I'm a great networker. I'm great at that. Hell yeah. So, this misconception about improving weaknesses is practiced by many people, including educators, parents, managers, and other authority figures. It's a well-intentioned but misplaced idea that almost held me back from going after the life I've always dreamed of. I was in serious danger of living a complacent life I loathed. According to the society's rules, I wasn't supposed to become a success. I barely got out of high school. I was in special ed until 10th grade. I had no money. I didn't even have a mentor. I didn't know anybody rich, and I sure as heck wasn't wise enough to read books on success like you are today. And one of the things that almost sentenced me to a life of self-doubt and mediocrity was being told to work on my weaknesses. About 10 years ago, I wrote my first book entitled Totally Fulfilled. Man, what is up with this all of a sudden? Okay. About 10 years ago, I wrote my first book entitled Totally Fulfilled. When I first decided to write it, the reason I did so was because I wanted to share my passion for helping others. As you may have figured out, I write books exactly the way I talk. I talk a lot. A lot of times, they aren't perfect as far as grammar and structure, and I tend to digress, but they deliver the message and lessons I want to share fast and Let's say a lot of times they're not perfect as far as grammar and structure, and I tend to digress, but they deliver the message and lessons I want to share fast and compellingly. I've learned that I have the ability to deliver simple yet effective strategies, sparking people to action so they can transform or even transcend their lives. But no, I definitely am not an English major. Me neither. I'm a math nerd. But I'm, quite honestly, I'm pretty good at communicating. So, alright. As I sat down to write my first book, as I sat down to write my first book, all these thoughts about my lack of writing skills started to fill my mind. I began to think things like, you barely graduated high school, there's no way you can really write a book. Or I would tell myself, you're ADD. Your ADD won't allow you to focus that long. It's impossible. But what made me move forward was my conviction that I had a message to deliver to the world. So I wrote my first book, not without some difficulties and episodes of self-doubt, but I got through it. When I was done, I knew it would need an editor to go through and clean up some of the mess that I am sure I created through my lack of formal grammar and writing skills. So I found someone I was told was one of the best editors in the country. And I took a plane to meet her. We had a nice meeting. I explained my desire and my passions and the fact that I knew the manuscript needed some cleaning up. I left her with this task, and I wouldn't be more excited to get back and get it published. However, 2 days later, I got a call from her, and I remember to this day what came from the other end of the phone. She said, Dean, this isn't a book. This is a 200-page conversation. You don't need an editor. You need a complete rewrite. I was devastated. I remember hanging up the phone and allowing disempowering thoughts from the past to flow back into my mind like some sort of dam that had just broken. The reason they came back so fast was because, like many of you reading this, I had been taught to work on my weaknesses for the most of my life. My subconscious tried to make me believe I was incompetent for thinking I could ignore my weaknesses. I immediately started thinking back to criticisms my teacher directed me at in school, and I reflected on them in such a negative way that I started saying to myself, I should have known better grammar, better spelling, understood how to punctuate, and do all the other things that good writers do. Who are you, Dean, to think you could write a book? My negative, defeatist thoughts ran away with my mind, and my confidence was temporarily destroyed. My momentum disappeared. The villain grew stronger and stronger as I spent about 24 hours beating myself up for not taking the time to work on my weaknesses before I wrote the book. Luckily for me, and I don't believe in luck, it's skill in some form or fashion. I believe in skill, not luck. About 48 hours after my thoughts shifted, I remember thinking, stop it! Look at the stories you're telling yourself. Are you kidding me? I may not be a trained writer, but I have a powerful message, and I need to share it with the world. I know my message can change people's lives. Who cares I'm not a perfect at grammar? Who cares my book sounds like a 200-page conversation? I called the editor back the next day and I said, I respect your opinion, ma'am, but I don't need your services anymore. You're fired. Okay, I'm not sure if I said the words you're fired, but I like to remember it that way. I soon found someone else to edit the book, and I sat them down and said, do me a favor. Make it readable, but leave my words as intact as you can. Don't rewrite my personality or my message. Just edit the spelling and the grammar. I don't want to try to sound like someone else, because this book is me. This is who I am. People can take me or leave me, but I'm going to be me. It was the first book I'd ever published, and it became a New York Times bestseller in weeks. I'm truly honored and blessed to be able to write that. But at the end of the day, who cares about the New York Times bestseller status? Let's be honest. What I'm proudest of is that the message in that book changed people's lives. What could be a better victory than that? And then I say amen with that. What if I hadn't written it? What if, after my first editor called my book embarrassing, I said to myself, man, I had no business being an author. I should have worked on my weaknesses. But I didn't. My life, as I know it today, would be completely different. You surely would not be reading my sixth book. But there's no but there. I'm putting that in there. I'm putting something in there that's not there. There are so many what ifs that pop into my head, but luckily I'll never know how many of them would have come to pass because I didn't give in to working on my weaknesses. I'll let myself focus on the lives I was going to change with them. Man, I think I need a break. I think I probably need to pause and get some water or something. All right, I'm gonna finish this paragraph in the next one. Then there's a pause in the book, so we're gonna pause, and pauses are good. Pauses are good for us to reflect on things and go, what's most important here? And in this case, he's saying, stick to your guns, stick with what you're good at. Stick with that, you know. Amen. All right, so there are so many what ifs that pop into my head, but luckily I'll never know how many of them would have come to pass because I didn't give in to working on my weaknesses. I let myself focus on the lives I was going to change with my message. What opportunities have you passed up through the years because you question yourself based solely on flaws you think you have or others told you have? As you think about that question, also think about this truth. Working on your strengths will help you overcome anything you'll consider a weakness. And I agree with that. Focus on your strengths. Your strengths can outpower your weaknesses. Hands down. Yeah.